key to playing piano instantly. Chords. A chord is simply three or more particular notes played together. So a note is just a melody line might be. A chord is three or more particular notes played together to make a full sound. It's not a single note, it's three or more particular notes. If this full sound is played rhythmically and various chords are used in a sequence, a nice background sound can be created from melodies or lyrics. Let's play a very basic chord, the chord of C. So you know where middle C is now, before the two black keys. We're going to add on two more notes. So play C and skip one and add E with your third finger. Skip another one and add G with your fifth finger. So thumb, middle finger, fifth. I'm going to play them all at the same time. For all future fingering purposes, number your fingers on both hands like this. To play the chord, try to make a claw with your right hand, like a crab. It's not easy to begin with. So if you're struggling with that right now, don't worry. Everyone struggles with that to begin with. It gets easier. Just keep playing this one chord for a while. And rest your hand and try it again. So this is known as a root position chord because the note that gives the chord its name is the bottom note, the root note. So this is C. Now we're going to play a very familiar chord sequence using four simple chords. Again, don't worry about why a chord is the shape it is, why it's a major, why it's a minor. Just play. Play first, ask questions later. Think about how people learn guitar. They learn the chords, they learn rhythms, they learn how to strum, they learn shapes. They don't worry about why it's a certain shape, why it's a certain string or whatever. They just learn the shape and then they strum and that's it. They're playing guitar. Look at piano in the same way to begin with, especially rhythm style piano. So the four chords are C, A minor, F, and G. Remember, play the three notes of each chord together at the same time. So find the C chord again. So middle C, skip one to E, skip one to G, play them all at the same time. Use fingers 1, 3, and 5 with your hand like a claw. And lock your fingers so you can lift them up, put them back down again, and move everything 2 notes to the left. That's down to the chord of A minor. So think of your alphabet, C, B, A minor chord. And 2 left again, that's down to the chord of F. So you could go up the alphabet from A, B, C, D, E, F, and then up 1 to the chord of G. So it starts at C, and 2 left A minor, and 2 left F, then 1 up to G. Just keep repeating that until you get used to it. In the next lesson, we're going to add a left hand rhythm in to play a very familiar progression. And these are the chords for the progression used for the song heart and soul. About the fingering for the chords. Many beginners find it difficult using their first, third, and fifth fingers to play these basic chords. Some find it easier to use their first, second, and fourth, or first, second, and third. So is it essential to stick to the suggested fingering? There are a few different reasons to use the suggested fingers. Firstly, beginners usually want to use what feels easier only because it feels easier. But if they keep doing that, they'll never strengthen all their fingers, which will be very limiting as they progress. Secondly, there is a valid reason to use your first, third, and fifth fingers for these basic root position chords. Later, you're going to learn seventh chords, where you'll be adding notes below the basic chords. So when you use 1, 3, 5, you can stretch your thumb further to the left to accommodate the added note. If you're using 1, 2, 4, it's not as easy, or 1, 2, 3. Thirdly, it is good to be flexible enough to use different fingering at different times. Try using the suggested 1, 3, 5 for a few days. It will become easier. Even just practice on the tabletop. So put your hand in the claw shape as if you're playing a chord of C major. And you may struggle to keep your other fingers, the second and the fourth, up off the keys. That's perfectly normal to begin with, and the more you practice, the more your fingers will behave themselves. So just lift those fingers up, practice up and down. Rhythm 1. Left note, right chord. This rhythm plays exactly as it sounds. Left note, right chord. To demonstrate the rhythm, I'm going to use the 4 chords you learned in the last lesson. C, then down to A minor, down to again to F, and up 1 to G. The left is going to play the root of the chord 1 octave to the left of each chord. So for the C chord, C is the root of the chord, and 1 octave left, you play a C note in the left hand. So C followed by the C chord, so left note, right chord. Then you move both hands down to A minor chord, both hands down to again to F, left note, right chord, and then both hands up 1 note to G, left note, right chord. And you don't need to use the pedal with this rhythm, because the pedal makes it sound very muddy. So you don't use the pedal. And you can see that I'm playing the left hand with just 1 finger, just for demonstration purposes. It's actually easier if you use different fingers for each note in the left hand. Try to find fingering that feels comfortable and practical for each note. So in this case, the C will be the thumb, and the third finger will be on A, and the pinky, fifth finger on the F, and the fourth finger on the G. It all fits under your fingers. But you can still play it with 1 finger to begin with if you find that easier. Lots of songs use this exact rhythm and chord sequence. It's actually known as the 1950s chord progression. Play the sequence repeatedly and see if you can sing along with any of the following songs. You may have to change the speed you play for each song, and you don't have to spend a lot of time on this. It's just to give you an idea of how one chord sequence can be used in many songs. And check out a great video on YouTube by The Axis of Awesome. 4 chords. That'll give you an idea of how this works. So just keep repeating the sequence and see if you can sing along with any of the songs. And remember, if you've never played piano before, even these basic chords can be quite difficult. Go easy on yourself. It takes a while for your mind to get used to the pattern of the keys, and it takes a while for your fingers to get used to the strange shapes you're putting them in. It will get easier the more you practice. Before we move on, let's recap rhythm number 1. Left note, right chord. So, we used the 4 chords we learned earlier. C, 2 down to A minor, 2 down to F, 1 up to G. Then we added the left hand root note of each chord 1 octave below. C, A minor, F, G. And you can use fingers that sit over the keys in the left hand. So C, A minor, F, G. And if we break the right hand chords up, you'll be able to play the rhythm for heart and soul. Student Q&A. Question: shouldn't I be learning scales and finger exercises to begin with? Many students have a preconceived idea that they're meant to start with scales and finger exercises. I have designed the course so that each exercise will naturally develop and exercise your fingers and help with two-hand coordination. And you'll have more fun, which means you'll be more motivated to keep practicing. You can use the melodic interludes that you'll be learning in between the rhythm lessons as warm-up exercises. In section 10, you'll be learning scales and arpeggio exercises in every key, and you'll feel much more motivated to learn them after being able to play some great piano by ear. Question: I thought I would be playing chords in the left hand and melody in the right hand. How come I'm playing chords in the right hand? With Pianoforall, you're starting with rhythm style piano. This is the same way people learn guitar. Rhythm style piano is a 100% valid piano style, and it's the easiest way to learn chords and to get a professional sound right from the start. So if you started with chords in the left hand and melody in the right hand, because you'll have limited knowledge, it will sound very thin and amateurish. So let's pick Frere Jacques, for example. Okay, not very inspiring. But if you played it using rhythm style piano and sing it over the top, it can sound quite professional. It's also essential to learn chords in both hands for when you later play ballad style. From section 6 onwards, you will play left-hand chord patterns with melody or improvisation in the right hand, and the right-hand melody will often use chord tones. Left hand. But eventually you'll want to use more economical and logical fingering. The simple rule is use whatever finger is closest to the target note. So in the left note right chord rhythm, the left hand moves from C down to A, down to F, and up to G. And the closest fingers to these notes are thumb on the C, third finger on the A, fifth finger on the F, and fourth finger on the G. You could also use thumb on the C, second finger on the A, fourth finger on the F, and third finger on the G. It's up to you. Use this principle in all the rhythms to follow, but remember there is no absolute rule regarding fingering. And often what determines the finger is if it leads logically to the next note. I will write in suggested fingering. If you struggle with certain fingers, please do practice using them. Otherwise you'll never strengthen your weaker fingers. A little bit more basic music notation, and then you'll be ready to start playing. You don't need to memorize any of this, just understand it. You'll be learning more about musical notation later, but this is all you need for now to get you started. Basic music notation. So what do all the lines and symbols mean? Let's look again at what we've been playing. Left note, right chord, C, A minor, F, G. These top set of lines, called staves, and the spaces represent keys to the right of middle C on your piano. And they're often played with the right hand. The symbol for these lines is called the treble clef. The bottom set of lines and the spaces between them represent keys to the left of middle C, and they're often played with your left hand. And the symbol for these lines and spaces is called the bass clef. The two sets of lines are split at middle C, which is indicated by a separate small line either below the right hand lines or above the left hand lines. So here's two ways you can look at this. We read music in the same way that we read the sentences of a novel, from the left of the page to the right. So getting back to our dots on the lines and spaces, as we scan from left to right, we play those keys or notes that the dots on the lines and spaces represent. And if there are several dots, notes, in the same vertical plane, we must play those keys simultaneously. So in this example, the left hand is playing an E note, and the right hand is playing an E, G, and B note together. So that all has to be played at one time because they're in the same vertical plane. Then reading from left to right, you go to the next note. In the right hand, that's an F note, then an A note, and then the right hand's going to play a C note, and the left hand's also going to play a C note lower down the piano, and you're going to play those two notes together because they're in the same vertical plane. Well, let's look at it again. Bars and beats. To make written music easier to follow, it's divided into segments called bars. Bars are divided into beats. The most commonly used rhythm is 4 beats in each bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. The symbol for one beat is a dot with a line coming out from it. It's called a quarter note. You can think of it as one beat out of 4 in the bar, so a quarter of the 4 beats. The British use different terms for all the notes, but we're going to use the American names because they describe the notes in a more mathematical way, which is easier to understand. Don't worry too much about the names of notes for now. Just remember the shape. So let's have a look. We're playing a G note, 4 quarter notes, 1 beat each over 4 beats per bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A beat with a hook on it lasts for half a beat. This is called an eighth note. When playing in 4 time, which is 4 beats to the bar, you can play up to 8 half beats in each bar. This is why it's called an eighth note. And to make them easier to write out, if there are 2, 3, or 4 in a row, they're grouped together by joining the hooks of their tails. So 8 eighth notes, or you could also say 8 half beats, are written like this. Notice that eighth notes, or half beats, are counted with the use of the word and or the plus symbol. This means we don't have to start counting out too many numbers. So let's count it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the previous 2 bars that had 4 beats in each bar, quarter notes, was 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But these are eighth notes, or half beats. So you count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notes can also be held for 2 beats. So let's look at the example. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is called a half note. Notice that in 4/4 time, a half note lasts for half the bar. The symbol for a half note, which is held for 2 beats, is like a letter O with a line coming up from it. Notes can be held for 4 beats. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the symbol for that is just like a squashed 0. This is called a whole note. In 4/4 time, notice that it's held for the whole of the bar. Don't worry about these technical terms, just memorize the symbol. You can also look at these notes as fractions of each other. If we start with a whole note, which lasts for 4 beats, we can play one whole note per bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then divide a whole note in 2, we get a half note, which lasts for 2 beats. We can play 2 half notes per bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then if we divide the half note in 2, we get a quarter note, which lasts for 1 beat. We can play 4 quarter notes in a bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we divide a quarter note in 2, we get an eighth note, which lasts for half a beat. We can play 8 eighth notes in a bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's play a tune that uses all the different beats. Jingle Bells uses all the beats you've looked at so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Periods of silence. You're not always going to be playing something in every bar. There are going to be some pauses, some silence. And these are shown by symbols called rests. Each rest has a different duration. So let's have a look. So 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 4th beat, there's nothing played. That's a 1 beat rest. The next bar, 1, 2, 3, 4. The little line above the middle line is a 2 beat rest. The next bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The period of rest there was a half beat rest. That's that little squiggle. And a 4 beat rest is the little line underneath the 4th line up. Nothing is played in that bar. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's play all 4 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. So really, this is all the musical notation you're going to need for books 1 to 8. You will learn more notation in book 9, Taming the Classics. But in books 1 to 8, I'm going to write in each note and chord for you. So you're really just using the notation as if it was keyboard diagrams. Follow the shapes. It can also be useful to memorize the position of the C notes so that you know where on the piano a particular note is to be played. So even if I do write that it's an A note or a G note or a B note, you may not know where exactly on the piano that particular note is to be played. So if you remember the position of these C notes on the music and on the keyboard, you'll know the location of other named notes on the keyboard. And if you need to, you can refer to the note finder in the PDF. So remember the position of these C notes. So middle C, and then the 2 C notes above that, and the 2 C notes below middle C.